Begin with the roll call, please.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes. 4B01.
Present.
4B02 is present. 4B03 present. 4B04
Present.
4B05
Present.
4B06. Tiffany.
Tiffany, are you frozen?
Tiffany, can you hear us? Tiffany. She's definitely here.
Yeah. We'll figure out what's going on with that later.
Let me message her. 4B07,
Here.
4B08,
Here.
4B09.
Present.
When we have all commissioners present and have a quorum.
Wonderful. Move right into things. We'll start with our regular instructions for this meeting. We ask that you mute yourself. We have announced that the meeting is being recorded. So if you're not interested in being recorded, now's your opportunity to log off. Again, if you are on Zoom and can use the raise your hand function, we would appreciate that. If you're on the telephone, please use *9 during community concerns, and you'll be limited in each case to 1 minute. Let's move on then to the consideration of February's agenda. I believe there are a few changes to the agenda, so we might as well start with those. My understanding is that we will be removing resolution 4B22024 from the agenda, and we'll be moving the letter of support to rename the Lamont Riggs Library off of the consent calendar, and we will make that item number 13 on the agenda. Are there any other changes to the agenda that I'm not aware of? In that case, I make the motion to move the agenda. To approve the agenda as amended. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the January regular minutes. They were distributed for everyone's review. Did anyone have any issue or question with regard to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve them as submitted?
Motion.
Thank you. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, thank you. Treasurer's report, Commissioner Bromagen.
Yes, thank you. We don't have any quarterly reports we need to approve in this meeting. The only update is I can provide the current balance in our checking account is $52,681.58.
Thank you very much. We'll move right along.
Thanks.
We'll move right along to commissioner updates. Because I can't see each of you, I'm just going to call on you by commission. Tonight, since we always start with 4B01, we're going to work backwards. We're going to start with 4B09.
All right. Well, thank you so much. The only update I have, last month when Eleanor Holmes was on, we asked about the mailbox. So the mailbox, I'm glad to report, is back at the corner of Nicholson and Riggs Road, 500 block. So we're very pleased that it's back. It's been gone about 1.5 years. So after being there 60 years that I know of. So that's pretty much it.
Great. I am 4B08. I don't have an update at this time. 4B07.
I don't think I have an update either. Thank you.
Okay. 4B06. Commissioner Tiffany Johnson.
Hi, so I just want to make an announcement that we are going to have our ANC 4B06 meeting on March 7th at 7 p.m. We also just in the last 30 minutes received word that DDOT has responded to our TSI request and are going to be making some safety improvements around the 100 block of Peabody Street and 5900 block of Second Street. So around that Cap City area. We're going to get speed tables, raised crossing, and yep, that's it.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, when you move your papers, it doesn't work well with your virtual background. So
Oh,
you disappear. So you might not want to
I'm sorry.
do that. We want to be able to see you.
My apologies. Let me take the
No
virtual
worries.
background.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm just keep the paper down and you'll be fine. 4B05.
No major update. I will say that Commissioner Johnson did organize a emergency meeting with the MPD to discuss the vandalism of cars and car windows being shot out that we had since the last meeting. And while the MPD is still investigating, incidents do seem to be still occurring, though I've not heard of any in the last week or so.
Heard last night in my
ongoing
S&D.
concern. There was, okay, well, then never mind. But that is certainly an ongoing concern, and I know that MPD is investigating, but hopefully we'll hear more about that moving forward.
I just want to just to piggyback on that. They are looking for a white Dodge Charger. They believe that that is the vehicle that is doing all of this damage.
So let's keep in mind, there's more than one Dodge Charger in DC. We
I
don't want-
understand
and-
that.
Oh, no,
I
not you. I mean,
understand.
for the residents, I don't want them,
Not only that, but
approaching white Dodge
unfortunately,
Chargers.
there was a follow-up incident after that happened on Shepherd Road Northwest that was captured on video, and it was not a white Dodge Charger. So it was a dark SUV, hard to see maker, model, or actual color. So unfortunately, that does change things, and I did let MPD know about that and shared that video.
Thank you for that.
Yep. 4B04. I'm guessing you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Negative report.
Okay, thank you. 4B03.
And I had nothing today. Thank you.
Thank you. 4B02.
Nothing from me today.
Okay, 4B01.
No, Chair Brooks. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then we're going to move directly into community concerns. If you have a question or comment, please raise your hand using the raise your hand function on your screen. If you can't find it, it's, I believe, under the reactions button. If you click on that, you'll see the option to raise your hand. Okay. So Angie, I see one resident that has his hand raised. If we could start with him and give others a chance, that would be great. Mr. Mack, Greg Mack, MC, if you could unmute yourself.
Forgive me. My name's Greg McCoy, and
McCoy, okay.
I come here at the invitation of Jocelyn Johnson, and I want to thank you guys for a moment of your time.
Of course.
I work in the senior space around healthcare. So in the Washington, D.C. district, I help people with Medicare and attaining all of the benefits that are available to them. One of the things I've been able to show people, and I'd like to talk to people like you because I see you guys as centers of influence. In this particular case, there are about 35,000 people in DC who should be getting a level of medical Medicaid that would give them a whole host of benefits beyond just basic health care, doctors and hospitals. DC Medicaid will give them a whole host of benefits like transportation, hospital meals after hospitalization, dental care, vision, and literally a host of other benefits. And the great thing about this is there's absolutely no cost to it because Medicare picks up 80% and the DC Medicaid picks up the other 20%. The reason I'm talking to you guys today is because about half the DC residents who would qualify for this benefit don't know about it, and as a result are either paying for these kind of benefits or they're going without these benefits. So I just wanted to introduce myself to you tell you about the ability to get, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I greatly appreciate you coming out, and you're welcome to leave your contact information in the chat for others
will do
to obtain in case they're interested in contacting you directly.
I will do that. I always sign off by saying I'm Greg McCoy. Just remember the real McCoy.
Got
Mr.
it.
Taylor, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Okay, I thought I saw another hand raised.
We have a
Paula
question.
Edwards. I'm sorry, there was a question?
Hello?
Hi, Ms. Edwards, how
Hi.
are you?
Fine. Thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to bring people's attention to the fact that we're having a blood drive on March 31 from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Shepherd Park Christian Church. I'll put a link in the chat to all the information. But the Red Cross is experiencing very, very low inventories right now, and we're trying to get as many people as possible to donate, especially African Americans. And the reason for this is that sickle cell patients have better outcomes when they're matched genetically with other African Americans. For most people, there's no problem. But for African American sickle cell patients, they have a better outcome when they're matched genetically. So thank you very much, and I'll put a link in the chat for this.
Thank you so much. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. Does anyone else have a question? Uptown, I'm guessing that's Gabriella.
Yes, Commissioner, this is Gabriela Mosi here from Uptown Main Street. And I just wanted to make a quick announcement, especially for those business owners, friends of business owners, or any entrepreneurs, folks interested in opening a business. We're partnering with several Ward 4 organizations, including all the main streets and Emory Beacon of Light, for a Ward 4 Business Summit. That is on March 16th. And I will put some information in the chat and forward. You should all be getting information. We'll be putting it on the listservs, but it's a one-day event from 10 to 2 p.m. Again, the Ward 4 Business Summit, and it's resources for small businesses with all the DC agencies, lenders, non-traditional lenders, and the DC agencies that deal with small businesses for general information, a little bit of networking. For the first time in several years, we will have an in-person event at Emory Beacon of Light. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so we're going to move to the next item on the agenda, which would be with the reports section. We're going to start with Anthony Mitchell from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Mr. Mitchell, are you on the call and are you off mute? Thought I saw you on the call earlier. Let me scroll down. Okay, he must have stepped away. So why don't we then move on to, let's see. I don't see Tamara Benitez either from, oh no, I do see Ward 4 office. You're here.
I don't think I can rename myself. So you have protection going on here.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Tamira Benitez here from the Office of the Council Member's Office, Council Member Janice Lewis George. I bring to you legislative updates. But before that, I just want to thank everyone that participated in Listen as We Climb. We had about 300 community members in total, so thank you for coming to the events. All right, I do have a clock today, so I'm just gonna jump right into these legislative updates that I have, starting with education updates. On Tuesday, the council will vote or pass emergency legislation that the council member introduced to allow DCPS teachers and DCPS staff to run for seats on the DC State Board of Education. DCPS educators serve on the front lines of our education system and care deeply for our students. This needs their expertise and dedication and leadership. This legislation also corrects correct a long-time imbalance where public charter school employees can run for seat on the DC State Board of Education, while DCPS employees are excluded from serving. Also, the council will vote or pass emergency legislation giving DDOT Urban Forestry Division a stop work order authority to prevent special trees and heritage trees from being cut down without a permit. We've seen it in the past that developers brazenly ignore city laws and potential fees to cut down these important trees that are a vital part of our urban canopy. This emergency legislation will allow DDOT to step in future cases and prevent this from happening. I want to highlight a couple of hearings that you should have in mind. This week, we have some key performance oversight hearings with DGS, DCPS, and all of our education agencies on Wednesday and Thursday. The council member plans to uplift testimony from Ward 4 residents and raise important issues related to our schools. Let me see, March 14th, which is a plug for the council members' Safe Route to Schools Act and council members Nadu Walk Without Worry Act. These legislations require swift traffic safety improvements in DC, especially in areas around Ward 4. I'm gonna dropping information in the chat for you to review so that you can support by submitting testimony of this important legislation. Shout outs to 4B for the resolution for these important bills. We look forward to working with you to get them passed. Last thing that I will mention is redistricting. It's happening. There is a task force. We have discussion maps for you to look at SMD and ANC boundaries, which is required by the law, as we have seen workforce population increase. I'm gonna drop information in the chat on how you can participate, when the meeting is gonna be happening, and where you can find more information. Thank you so much. I'll stick around for a bit for questions and concerns.
Thank you so much. Let's see, do I have any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, I have received a few questions of folks wondering if there's more details on the timeline for the Tacoma Aquatic Center opening and the end of that construction, if you have any information.
Thank you. I do not have further information, but I can follow up with DPR and DGS on what's going on with that. The last thing that I heard was that there would be a component on solar panels we're going to be part of the construction, but I do not have further information on that. So I'll follow up and loop you in, Commissioner, so that you can have that information.
Thank you. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Jocelyn Johnson.
Hi, Ms. Benitez. This is, I just want to follow up on a situation I had given to Matthew. I'm not sure if you got it. It's about some dangerous tree branches that have fallen on the unit block of Tuckerman Street Northwest. And hopefully he got a chance to check into it. I had also given it to Mr. Mitchell, but the branches have been out there since the fall, and they had Christmas trees that were, put out there. They picked up the Christmas trees, but left these branches, and it's very dangerous. So could you, do something?
Absolutely, Commissioner. I do not have that on my case load, but I'm happy to support with that. If you can forward me the email so that I can get to it.
Thank you. I will.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. I don't see any other hands raised. Thank you. Okay, I believe Mr. Mitchell has made his way back after a few technical difficulties, so we'll double back to him.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, perfect. All right. So first of all, let me apologize for that little glitch that happened. I have been in the meeting the whole time. I was out for some reason and now I'm back, but it is always a pleasure to be with you all. And I am glad to give a few quick updates, because I see my time is running, and then jump to a couple other things that folks may have questions about. So Just a quick update on the vaccine situation. So previously, as you know, February 15th, we were going to require folks to be fully vaccinated in order to patronize indoor businesses, recreation facilities, lounges, bars, things like that. That is no longer a requirement. I know many of you may have seen this already, but I just want to share publicly that that is no longer a requirement as of the mayor's situational update on COVID from February 14th. So that's no longer going to be required. You can go to restaurants and they won't have to ask you for your proof of vaccination. Similarly, tomorrow, the indoor mask mandate that the mayor put in place, she also announced on February 14th that you will no longer need to or be required to wear a mask. Now, the only caveat to that is for, of course, schools, libraries, shelters, public transit, so WMATA and things like that, but also DC government facilities will still require you to wear a mask on the inside. The other caveat to that is that if a business as a private entity requires that you wear a mask, you also still need to wear a mask in said facility. As you all might have seen, I want to reiterate that DPW will begin residential street sweeping on tomorrow, Tuesday, March 1st. Through October 30th, and are obeying the posted for scheduled street sweeping and parking restrictions and things like that. This will include now alley cleaning and graffiti removal, as well as, since we're transitioning into the spring months and warmer weather, we'll now be able to start doing graffiti removal and alley cleanings. I know that's been a concern for a couple folks, especially in your SMD, Commissioner Brooks. So definitely want to make sure we follow up on those things as well. And lastly, I want to mention very briefly, if I can pull it up right here, that I know some folks have been concerned about the State of the Union. I do want to remind folks, and the mayor did a press conference on this earlier today, that we are working closely with our state and federal partners to make sure that we ensure the safety of not just residents, but also the amenities that are within DC. And so we're working very closely with them. With that, I'm happy to take any questions right at time.
Okay, let's see.
And I did take note, Commissioner Palmer, about your request for information on the Tacoma Aquatic Center, as well as your follow-up request for the trees on your street to be picked up, Commissioner Jay Johnson.
Wonderful. I don't see any hands raised by commissioners. Commissioner Yates.
Chair Brooks, if I can just speak.
Yep.
Yeah. I had a couple, I wanted to ask about crosswalk striping now that the weather has started and whether that will restart. 5th and Cedar Street
That's
at
right.
the border of 4B01 and 4B02.
That's right.
And Eastern and Juniper,
Okay.
which has been pending for over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Either one of them, if you could flag to have move at the front of the queue or let me know when the plan is on those, I'd appreciate it.
Definitely happy to follow up with not just Cynthia, but our roads and bridges team to make sure we get that done. That's been in the queue way too long. So I'm happy to follow up, and I'll send you a note on that either tonight or tomorrow morning.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Commissioner Huff, did I see your hand raised?
It did not.
Madam
right,
Chair,
Commissioner-
Brenda,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
thank you. When are they going to start back putting speed humps in the streets?
When are they going to start? I don't think we stopped. Is there a particular request that you have in?
Yes, I had between 7th and Quackenboss on
Okay.
7th Street between Quackenboss and Peabody,
Okay.
and I had from 5th and Peabody up until I had Peabody, now 5th and Peabody up to 9th and Peabody
Okay.
around Paul, and I had 8th and 8th and Peabody down to Missouri Avenue.
Okay. So what I have is between 7th and Quackenboss to Peabody, 5th and Peabody down to 9th and Peabody, and then 8th and Peabody down to.
Yes. Yes, because of the school area, we definitely need those speed humps.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, did you already have a TSI request in?
Yes, I did, and I basically never heard from them, and the
Got it.
request's been in for months.
Got it. Okay, I can follow up on that.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Good to hear from you, Commissioner Parks.
You too, sweetheart. We'll talk.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Commissioner Jocelyn Johnson.
Hi, Mr. Mitchell. I just
Yeah.
had a question about the opening up of the city and all from the
Yes,
mayor
ma'am.
notice. I don't know if we're supposed to take it for granted, but public places where meetings are going to be held, is there going to be any assurance given to people, citizens or whatever, about the cleanliness, the cleaning up, and that kind of sanitation, or I don't even know the word for it, that's going to allow public access to community rooms and stuff like that? Is that something that's going to be mandated by her as she opens the city back up?
Are you asking for government operated?
Yeah,
like DPR, like a
police precincts, stuff like that, public rooms, community rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, once they are allowed to be back open, for all of our city-owned and operated facilities, DGS maintains those, and so we can follow up with those. Now, in terms of private places, like let's say they wanted to meet at Phi Beta Sigma.
No, I'm talking about public. I'm talking about the government place, like police.
Right. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But I don't think they're able to, like, you can't reserve a meeting room at a DPR facility right now, to my understanding, at least not one for like a large meeting or something like that.
And I mean, once things get back in place.
Absolutely. Once we open back up, yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure she has that on her menu. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Mitchell? If you are a resident, you need to use the raise your hand function or *9. I don't see any other commissioners with their hands up. Commissioner Huff?
Yeah, I just was curious. I've been watching the news and PG is talking about their numbers and how they're down. What do our numbers look like in the district in terms of COVID cases?
What I can do is send you today's snapshot and drop it in the chat as well so that everybody can see it, but I'll send you today's snapshot.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I don't see any other hands raised, so I'm going to move on. And we're going to move on to State Board of Education. Yes.
I just wanted to ask the question from the chat that came up earlier. I thought might be good.
I'm sorry.
In terms of after hours constructions reports going unresponded when they go via 311 or the online form, does Anthony have any advice for those folks on doing after hours or holiday construction reports?
It's so the concern is that folks are submitting an after hours construction report and it's not being addressed by 301 or DCRA. Yeah, DCRA's.
Yes.
Okay.
That essentially they don't get dealt with after hours or during the holiday.
Got it. Okay.
So when they come to check on it, it's actually business hours or, not a holiday anymore.
Got it. Okay. Let me drop my contact information in the chat so we can have I don't want to belabor this, but I definitely want to connect with whoever that is so we can get to the bottom of that.
So in other words, you're asking the person that put that in the chat to contact you directly?
Yes, I am. I'm about to drop my contact information now.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we're going to welcome State Board of Education Representative Fraser O'Leary.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I've got a list of things that I would like to have questions asked about. On tomorrow, the City Council will be voting on bills sponsored by Charles Allen and Janice Lewis George to allow DCPS employees to run for the State Board of Education, just as charter school employees can. I couldn't have run for the State Board of Education in 2018 when I ran if I was a a public school employee, but I was retired. That's why I was able to run. Many DCPS schools are short of teachers and are in urgent need of substitutes. The requirements have been changed so that you can become a substitute with an associate's degree. Qualified applicants can make up to $300 a day if they work a certain number of days a month. On Wednesday, I will be testifying before the Committee of the Whole oversight hearing on our schools. My testimony will center on the lack of response for the physical problems in our neighborhood schools. Whittier, Truesdale, Powell, LaSalle, Backus, and Roosevelt still have HVAC issues. Roosevelt has had to use portable space heaters since December. Construction on the elevator at Whittier has finally begun. We as a community need to lobby DCPS and the mayor on the creation of a swing space in Northeast Ward 4 that can accommodate Truesdale, Whittier, and LaSalle Backus when they are finally able to be remodeled. All three of those schools, when they go into the remodeling stage, are going to be, the students are going to have to go to my old school, Garnet Patterson, at 10th and U Streets Northwest. And those of you who are parents or grandparents or neighbors or have children in the schools know that you don't want your school to have to go all the way downtown for elementary school. It has been 2 years now since Mrs. O'Leary's Books for Friends began delivering books to schools in Ward 4 and beyond. There have been over 30,000 books delivered in those 2 years. We are still collecting donations. And please pass the word to your friends and neighbors so that we can continue to put books in the hands of our elementary and middle school students. And my information is in the chat. My number is 202-236-2184. And my email is oman9@AOL. And please get in touch with me. You can either deliver the books to my house, 1318 Farragut Street Northwest, or I will come get them from your house. I saw that in the chat because I've become so computer savvy. It's ridiculous.
Oh, thank you for that. Just to point out, we have a resolution on tonight's agenda supporting the request for swing space within this area.
That's great. That's great. It's going to take the whole community to get that done. We need to really talk to the education leaders, the mayor, and the other people that work for her to make sure that everyone's child is comfortably educated while their building is finally remodeled or redone.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Don't see any. I don't see any hands raised.
Oh, I'm so disappointed.
Well, thank you.
Chair Brooks, there's a hand in the
Yes.
audience.
Okay,
Ms. Lawson.
Ms. Lawson.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I want to put a pin on that swing space resolution, and I appreciate you putting that in. The main reason that we want that, I'm speaking on behalf of the Whittier Parent Teacher Organization, is that Whittier and Truesdale in particular have at least 3/4 of their families walking to school. They live within a half a mile of the school. And having swing space that's on 13th Street at Sharp or downtown at Garnet Patterson is going to severely disrupt that community feel. And that's a big reason why we want. I appreciate all the work that the council member's office has put into identifying other spaces. And I hope that DME, DCPS, and DPR can come to an agreement on locations that are closer that allow us to maintain that community feeling and walkability for our students. Thank you.
And someone asked about my number. My number is on at 713 in the chat.
It's already in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right, we're going to move on to MPD, is Captain Porter still available? Is he still here?
Yes, I'm still on.
All right, thank you. The floor is yours.
All right, great. Captain Franklin Porter with the 4th District, Sector 1. I'm gonna go over a few stats that happened in your ANC in the last 30 days. Most of the stuff is looking good, but there is something that's just completely out of control that we're trying to get a hold on. Let's talk about the violent crime. We did have just one shooting over the last 30 days that happened in the unit block of Kennedy Street. It was most of a home invasion, burglary type of report. When the suspects was inside, they did strike the victim with a handgun, and the handgun did go off one time and did strike the victim. Suspects fled the location, and the victim was able to drive himself to the hospital. That case is still under investigation. So that's the only shooting we had. Unfortunately, our robberies are completely out of control in the ANC area. Well, they're pretty much out of control in the entire district, almost in the entire city. The whole city is having problems with robberies going on this beginning of this year. And ANC 4B was definitely hit pretty hard the last 30 days. They had 13 robberies, which is up. Last year at this time we only had 2, so that's up dramatic increase. They're occurring on Georgia Avenue. There's at least 4 or 5 happen up and down Georgia Avenue. 3 of them happen around Tacoma. 1 happened in Manor Park, and around 1 happened in Lamont Riggs area, and then 2 happened around Queens Chapel. So they spread out, but they're pretty much all concentrated around the Georgia Avenue area. They occur early in the morning, usually when people are going to work at metros, waiting for the metro. Cars usually pull up, a few people jump out, displays handguns, and then take property off of the victim, and then get back in the car, and they usually go a couple blocks down the street and grab somebody else. So it happens pretty fast. We have put a robbery task force together for the 4th District, for some overtime that officers out doing traffic stops, trying to stop vehicles, because it seemed like they're using vehicles, stolen vehicles, to do the robberies and get around the area. So just be mindful of that. And like I said, they're happening between the hours of 5 a.m. and around 6:30. And they usually, maybe twice a week, they usually pick 2 days a week to hit the 4th District pretty hard. So the robberies, like I said, the robberies is the only thing that's really out of control. The property crimes are all down. I don't see any issues with property crimes. Stolen vehicles are down. The theft models are down, and the burglaries are down. So everything, property crimes are looking good. Now I'm going to address the destruction of property that we've been having with the vehicles. Probably some young kids probably been driving around in stolen vehicles, shooting out windows. I think that's more of what. Then that doesn't seem like they're doing it to steal anything out of the vehicle. It seems like they're doing it just to do some damage to vehicles. So what they're doing is they're just driving through a street. They shoot out a window with a BB gun and then keep it going. They usually get into a block. We got a video of a white Dodge Charger that did it, and it took them probably 17 seconds to get down that block and shoot out about 5 or 6 windows. So just definitely be mindful of that. We definitely gonna keep on looking into that. Don't look at for that white Dodge Charger, because they probably going to use different vehicles. But I know we do have video of that white Dodge Charger. And that's going to be it for MPD. Go for any questions.
Okay, let's start with the question in the chat. First question, can you advise community members how to flag potential stolen vehicles for community members?
Yes, we do have a stolen auto task force that works for the 4th District. They're very good. They're probably the best in the entire city when it comes to recovering stolen vehicles. We also have these things called LPRs. They're license plate readers. They're on a lot of patrol cars, so they read license plates and they find it. But if you see a vehicle sitting on your street and it just doesn't move, or it doesn't seem like no one's going at it, or you don't know who it is, definitely you can either text do a text tip to 50411, or you can just call 911 and let them know they got a vehicle you want checked out, or shoot me an email and I'll have it checked out, and basically then we can get it off the street and get it recovered if it's stolen.
Thank you. We're going to start with the commissioners. Commissioner Jocelyn Johnson has her hand raised.
Yes, I just had a quick question. Someone asked me to ask you Is there any appetite with the MPD to deal with, as the weather gets warmer, the guys that drive or the people who are riding those dirt bikes with them and try to work out some kind of something, I don't know, or some kind of start a conversation, I guess. Is there any appetite?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously we do have a plan. The city does have a plan that they do follow throughout every year. We usually get the helicopter up to follow them around. If they come in the area, we usually try to block off gas stations, don't let them fill up. Other than trying to chase them down, that's just not going to happen. But what we do is just try our best to keep an eye on them. I was working in the 6th district back in 2020 for a summer detail, and almost 100 dirt bikes came through the 6th district at one time. It was crazy, and they tried to gas up at one time, and we just rushed in and tried to grab as many as we could. And like I said, it's definitely going to be a problem once the summer starts kicking in. But if you do see them out, keep an eye on them. If they're in your neighborhood, if they're storing them somewhere in your neighborhood, let someone know. Like I said, do a text tip, and we can recover them when they not driving them.
Well, this is a kind of that way. This is kind of like having a conversation to get in front of the crisis, like the warm weather type of thing. That's all I was asking.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely try to get them while they store them. If we can get them while they're storing them before they get on them. Once they get on them, it's just basically monitor them until they stop. You can't really chase them down, because if someone gets hurt, then this is going to be another issue.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tiffany Johnson. You're muted.
Okay, sorry.
There you go.
So I understand, calling MPD. I've done that and nothing was done. My constituents have done that and nothing was done. I have been personally chased and harassed by individuals on these bikes, as have my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So what else can we do?
Well, unfortunately, most people deter behavior by worrying about the punishment. There's not a serious punishment when it comes to a dirt bike. You can get another one easily. I can take your dirt bike, and the next day I can go buy me another one for $50. So maybe the punishment needs to be a little bit more severe than basically you get a fine and you get a dirt bike taken from you. But other than that, they're gonna ride these dirt bikes, and they're gonna try to get us to chase them, and they're gonna pop wheelies in front of us, and we're gonna try our best to try to stop them from filling up so they can run out of gas as best we can and see if they storing them. That's all right now that can be done. There's really not too much other that we can do other than start chasing them, and then it's going to be serious accidents and people will get seriously hurt.
Well, your general orders say you can't chase them, but
That's correct.
I'm trying to figure out, is there another approach that could be taken?
That's what I say. Maybe up in the deterrence from if you get caught with a dirt bike on the street of the District of Columbia, it's going to be a little bit more severe than just a small fine. I don't know. I mean, other than what we're going to do, it seems like every year we do pretty much the same thing, try to, get them while they're not riding it, or try to get them once they stop riding it, or get them at intersections and stuff like that. But it's a very delegated situation. And I know that the kids are not going to stop riding these dirt bikes. They're just not.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about school zone enforcement. I've heard a lot from my constituents about the schools in our community and concerns about vehicle traffic around all this. I mean, I don't want to overstep my bounds, Commissioner Johnson, but Whittier among them, Coolidge, Ida B. Wells, but all the way up to Tacoma as well. And what the 4th District is doing around school safety enforcement.
Yes, the chief and the mayor has put a plan into place when it comes to school traffic. A special operation division has been running the program every day during the school year, during the school time. I think it's between the hours of 6:30 and 10:30 in the morning. And then during the relief, we have a unit specifically assigned in each district to conduct traffic within school zones. So we have been picking up a lot of traffic within school zones. It's usually, like I said, it's been coordinated under our Special Operations Division. We haven't been doing too much of it this week because of the protests and the CD. Everybody's detailed to CDU, but obviously after the CDUs are back and most of our manpower is back, we're gonna start picking it up probably later on next week.
Thank you. Let's see, are there any other questions, comments? I don't see any other hands raised. Anyone else sees a hand raised, let me know. Okay. Captain Porter, you've been asked to put your contact information in the chat, please.
Copy that. Sure will.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Housing Justice Committee did not meet last month. I don't know. Let's see, Commissioner. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Vision Zero. I'm sorry. Housing Justice would be Commissioner Palmer. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. We met the first Wednesday of the month, which was February 2nd, and had a presentation from the District Alliance for Safe Housing, otherwise known as DASH, about their work providing housing to victims of domestic violence. It was a wonderful and informative presentation about the importance of services accompanied with housing. We will next meet on the first Wednesday of March 2nd at 8 p.m. and the information for that meeting is on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. So Vision Zero did not meet this month. Commissioner Yates, did you have anything you wanted to share even though we did not meet?
No, just a reminder that we meet again on Wednesday, March 16th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. All right, we're going to now move into our presentations. We're going to start with the Mayor's Office of Latino Affairs. They have 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. Eduardo, are you on the call?
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much for your time. Can I share my screen with you guys?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I have in here, let's see. So I'm not able still to.
Just one. You're not able to share?
Just one moment.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for allowing us to participate in your meeting. It's our first time here. We're happy to share the virtual room with you.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you very much.
Angie, is he able to share now or should I share my screen instead?
You have it here. Thank you very much.
You should be able to share. There you go.
Thank you very much. Okay. So once again, thank you very much for allowing us to participate here in your ANC meeting. My name is Eduardo Perdomo. I'm the director here at the Mayor's Office on Latino Affairs, which is one of the community affairs agency from the Mayor's Office, the Executive Office of the Mayor. We were created in 1976, and the purpose of this presentation is to let you know about the things that we do here at the Mayor's Office on Latino Affairs, and to ask you for your help to share this information with our constituents out there to inform about the services that we provide. So few things that we have done with the mayor, specifically targeting the immigrant population and Latinos. We have created with the mayor what is called the Immigrant Justice Legal Services Grant. And this is a program that started in 2017, immediately after the outcomes of the federal election, when Trump became president then. And there was an anxiety level in the community that was like scared about the outcomes of the potential Trump becoming a president, the mayor created this program, then $500,000 to provide direct services, legal services to DC residents looking for family reunification, naturalization process, TPS renovations, dreamers, and to support the immigrant community in general. In today, that the same program has $3.5 million to provide immigration legal services to our community. And it's a program that has helped people to know about their rights, to reunify with the families, and to have what we all need, peace of mind, to live in a city where they work and they have the family here. So that's one of the programs that we created under the Bowser administration. The other program that we worked closely with the mayor was the Stay DC program during the pandemic. I mean, we're still in the pandemic, but at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the things that we had to deal with was how to help our residents to be able to pay back rent. And the mayor created this program as a Stay DC program. And we here at the office on Latino First, as you can see, I'm here at the office, and we never closed the office throughout the pandemic. We came here in person every single day because our constituents need direct services face to face. And we were like working with the Stay DC program to help our constituents to navigate how to submit application to receive financial support from the Stay DC program with help 650 Latino families in general, not only Latinos, but DC households. And we were able to raise over $2 million to enable these households to pay back rent. And in addition to that, we connect them immediately after with another program that is with the Department of Energy and Environment, DOE. It's like the program called Solar for All, where they're able to pay, to have a reduced electricity bill rate of up to 50% every month less. And these are things that we do here. We're always trying to connect people to solutions because our mission is like to improve the lives of DC Latino residents. And we're always looking for partnerships in the private sector or along with within DC government other agencies. One of the other programs that we have here at the office is the Summer Youth Employment Program. And this is like the city, like the Mayor Barry Summer Youth Employment Program is the citywide. But we have another program for recently arrived undocumented youth that require exposure and have the same opportunities as their peers. So we expose them to some career opportunities in community-based organizations, and they're engaged in the solutions of the issues affecting members of their community. And that's one of the most beautiful things about the program is like we enable them to be part of solutions of the programs that are affecting their people. As I said, like the office has been around here, it's like since 1976. And we have become a model for other offices of constituent services in all over the United States. They always look into this office, the Office on Latino First in the district, because among the things that we have that make us special is that we have groundmaking authority, which enable us to provide financial support to community-based programs and organizations that will provide services that otherwise wouldn't be available to members of our community. We work with numerous community-based organizations. In every year, we have over 100 community-based programs that we support. We work with big organizations such as Mary Center or Latin American Youth Center or Teatro de la Luna or Gala Theater. It's like in the area of education, civic engagement, health and wellness, housing, in every single aspect of the life of our constituents, we have a program that might be helpful for or help them to thrive in the city. The office is divided into 3 different departments. We have our language access department, which is it takes care of like the messaging of the mayor and other DC government agencies that have vital information that needs to be translated into Spanish. And this is based on the Language Access Act of 2004 that requires like the city to provide information in 6 different languages, including Spanish. So we are usually providing information in Spanish, such as the situational updates that the mayor every other week or every now and then lately provides to DC constituents. Every week we were providing like the update on terms of like the COVID response. And so we wanted to ensure that every single DC Latino resident got the information they needed in a timely manner. The other department that we have here at Mayor's Office on Latino First is the community outreach. So basically, we're trying always to engage our constituents with the art. We're always going out there in the community in collaboration with community-based organizations. And then we have the grants department, which I mentioned before. That's one of our distinction is like that we can provide grant funding to community-based organizations. Our grant programs are divided into 2, the immigrant justice, which is $3.5 million, and the Latino community development grant, which is like $1.8 million. And we have a few other programs with like DC government agencies, with the Department of Employment Services, with the Department of Environment. And we're always looking for ways to incorporate more grant funding into the equation so we can better serve our community. Lately, we have been, like, as I mentioned before, one of our main goals here is connect people to solutions. And we do it either through community-based programs or DC government agencies. And like lately, we were going business, like visiting businesses in the district to connect them to the Bridge Fund. And we were able to help 20 businesses to submit application to receive financial support from the Bridge Fund. And this is a program that recently, I think it was last Friday, and tomorrow, there's gonna be a second round of the Bridge Fund. It's a program to enable like businesses that have like through losses to get funding from $20,000 to $100,000. And I would like to take the opportunity also to invite you over to some of our events that we're having in the near future. We have one event, which is Voices of the Americas. It's a movie night highlighting the diversity of our culture with Native American languages spoken. And we have a Zumba series, like for healthy lifestyle, and one fun event, which is the Rumba series to learn how to dance bachata and salsa. So I hope you can enjoy these events with us and to share this information out there. And I'll make myself available if you have any questions.
Oops, I muted myself during your presentation. So I'm going to start with commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Yates.
Yes, thank you. I was curious about this support fund for people applying for immigration needs. You said you had $500,000. Did you exhaust that? Do we need to ask the council for more money? Like, what was the utilization on that?
So we have $3.5 million, and it started with $500,000 in 2017. And the mayor every year has increased the funding for this program. And we are doing great. And we have currently 24 programs with 23 organizations providing years, looking for asylum or for family reunification. So I think that the best thing that we could do as a community is to share this information with our constituents so they know that we have these kind of services out there.
So so you say that it's done through 23 organizations, right? Like, so it's the best way to direct them to those CBOs?
I think the best way is to ask them to do the visual.
Did I lose him? Mr. Padermo, are you still there? I think we lost him.
I think we lost him.
Okay, so there's a question in the chat that we can answer and while we wait to see if he returns. And the comment was, I applaud the help that the Latino population is receiving. I'm curious about services for rent relief for English-speaking renters. Were all the Stay DC offices offering rent rebates open as well? Will all city services be open for an in-person help now that the mask mandate has been lifted? Mr. Mitchell, can you address that question, please? You're muted if you're trying to respond.
Hello. Director Perdomo has some trouble with connection now, but
okay. Thanks. Well, in case there are any other questions, Christian, will you be able to answer them? Ah, here he comes.
Oh, pues si no se escucha. ¿Podrías conectarte si quieres? Yeah. Yeah. Ok, entra. Entra ahí. Gracias. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Yeah, sorry. It seems like the connection on the other computer failed.
No problem.
As I was saying, answering the question, so the program is $3.5 million, and the best way is to send them over to my office. We can connect them with the right organization because they specialize in different services. So we have organizations that work with refugees looking for asylum. We have organizations that are specialized into family reunifications or in deportation proceedings. So avoiding those, so please send them over. I can share the information on the chat. Our phone number is 202-671-2825.
Okay. Were there any other commissioner questions? I don't see any at the moment. I also don't see any hands raised. There was a question in the chat, Mr. Padermo, but it was more so about the Stay DC program. And so I was going to let Mr. Mitchell answer that question from the Moker's office, unless you want to take a stab at it. But it was asking were all Stay DC offices open, and offering rent rebates as well. And then it also asked about the mask mandate, which I want to give that part of the question to Mr. Mitchell. But from my understanding, not only were Stay DC offices open, but they were making, they had pop-up locations inside of every ward. Is that something you can address, or should I let Mr. Mitchell answer that question?
In terms of the Stay DC, I think that, yes, we had pop-up locations in every single ward. And in addition to that, we have the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, the ERAP, that is currently rolling, and we are actually helping people to apply every single day here at the Mayor's Office on Latino First. And the mask mandate, as you know, the mayor revoked the mask mandate starting tomorrow, March 1st. And but there are some exceptions to this mask mandate. Places where we for instance, like public facing agencies will have to wear their face mask when engaging with constituents, and senior wellness centers and a few others. We can share the exact requirements on the max mandate. I think that Anthony Mitchell, my colleague from the Mayor's Office on Community Affairs, could extend on this, but we can share the exact the mayor's order, so you have the information, the exact information about it.
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't
Thank you.
see any other questions at this time. We appreciate your asking to come out and present, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful evening. Okay, next on the agenda, I believe, is Christopher Dyer, Community Engagement Manager, DC Department of Parks and Recreation. You need a 10-minute presentation and 5-minute discussion.
Thank you very much. If you could also please give me access so I can share my screen.
Will do.
I'm very excited to present. And by the way, I'm now debuting our fabulous DPR summer camp logo as my backdrop. So it is not the Kool-Aid Man, but that's going to be our logo. I am very excited to be here. My name is Christopher Dyer, and there I am. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Prior to working at DPR, I ran the Mayor's Private Security Camera Rebate Program, and I've seen a lot of you guys on Twitter. And I also am a big fan of Ward 4, even though I live in Ward 2. So anyway, enough of that. I like being downtown, but Ward 4, I've spent a lot of time there. So first off, before we get into this, I wanted to also thank the chair for inviting me and your help in getting me connected. This is a pretty good, good Zoom connection. I like this. Before we get into it, we just want to remind people that we are now we are still the #1 ranked park system in the country. For those of you who don't know, we host programming in over 244 sites across over 900 acres of green space in all 8 wards, and we have up to 100 different capital improvement projects in our construction pipeline. This is a slide that shows the wonderful properties, DPR sites in 4B, Emory, Lamond, Riggs LaSalle, and Tacoma. And by the way, it was not, I'm sure this question will come up. We still do not have a firm date for the opening of the Tacoma Aquatic Center. We are planning it in the spring. I'm sorry, I don't have a better date for you yet, but please feel free to email me and I'll drop my contact information and I'll add you to the list that'll get the announcement once the pool is back online, but it's coming shortly. So programs. Yes, I know that today is the actual last day of signing up for DPR winter programs. Tomorrow, spring program registration will open. Visit dprprograms.com for additional information and to sign up for announcements about our programs. You'll also probably get an email, the commissioners will get an email from me tomorrow or Wednesday asking to forward this information. Even though it is still about 32 degrees outside, we are firmly in our plans to start, we are firmly in our summer camp plans because we know this is about the time when people start planning for summer. This is a list of the fantastic array of summer camp offerings we're going to offer this summer. Please visit dprsummercamp.com for additional information. Currently, we are accepting applications for reduced rate. I'll talk about that in a moment. Registration for camps will open on a rolling basis during the week of April 4th, 2022. Now, the operations manager for permits reminded me to have you guys, before you get, in anticipation of our rollout, please visit dprdc.gov/DPR account to make sure you have an account to register, because that sometimes will cause problems when you try to log in. So go ahead, check your account because you'll need one. And you can also make sure you have your password ready on April 4th when we open up enrollment. The reduced rate information is here. We do offer a reduced rate for summer camps. Qualifying families will receive either 50 to 75% discount, depending on income level. And after you complete this form at dprsummercamp.com, you'll be contacted to schedule an appointment. In fact, we are doing some of our appointments, I think, at Emory, actually. So you guys are hosting a good process. So please go to dprsummercamp.com if you're interested in a reduced rate. Events. This is another website that's good. Please visit dpr.events for a list on all the upcoming events and to sign up and get notifications. We don't have a lot of events now, although there is a bi-weekly movie night at Emory. However, as summer comes along, you'll certainly see a ton of events on our dpr.events website. And you can also get, sign up to get notifications about our events. Permits. If you're planning a meeting or practice or a game at an event and need a good location, look no further. We do offer a lot of options if you'd like to get a permit. Please note that you need to have one for an activity over 10 or more participants. Visit dpr.dc.gov/permits or call 673-7647 for complete information on how to get a permit for your special event. One of the best pieces of feedback I've gotten so far in my job is I had a parent come up to me and tell me how excited he was and how easy it was to get a permit for his child's birthday. And then this 5-year-old came up and told me that he had his best day ever at one of our events. So if you're looking to have a best day ever, consider getting a permit at one of our locations. Another thing to keep up is Ready to Play. We are in the process, for those of you who don't know, of updating or creating a master strategic plan for development. The results of if you visit readytoplaydc.com, you can see some of the things we've been doing. We are putting the final touches on our draft capital blueprint, which will be released sometime in the spring. When we release that, the ANC will obviously have a great opportunity to provide us feedback, and we'll also reach out to you to see if you want someone from our group to come out and make a presentation. So that is my presentation right now. I used to be sort of my role is sort of to be the MOCR and your point of contact with DPR, all things DPR. My number is 202-702-9453. It's a cell. My email is christopher.dyer@dc.gov. I am going to drop all of this into the chat after I stop sharing my screen. I also used to be an ANC commissioner, so I have a great deal of respect and empathy for the work you guys do and appreciation. So feel free to text me at any time up to about 9 o'clock at night if you'd like. I might even respond. And feel free to email if you have any questions about DPR. Thank you all for your participation and partnership with us, and I look forward to answering any questions you guys might have.
Thank you. We have 3 questions from commissioners. I'm going to start with Commissioner Yates, then Palmer, then Jocelyn Johnson.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the maintenance issues at the Tacoma Recreation Center playground, which have been ongoing for some time and appear to be getting even worse, including like down fencing. There's been pieces of playground equipment that are non-functional or have been non-functional for a while. And I wanted to see if there were any plans to tackle this issue.
Okay, I don't know if we have any current plans to update, to renovate the playground at Tacoma. However, if you do see something down and you'd like to open up a ticket, feel free to take a photo and email me, and I'll try to open up a ticket with DGS. Our partners at DGS maintain the site, but I don't have any information about whether we're going to do equipment replacement.
I'll just flag for you that there are probably a half dozen or more open tickets that have been open for a while at that facility.
Perfect. Again, I will check in the back order and I will start following up on those tickets. And if you'd like, Commissioner, I can work directly with you on some of the unresolved issues and continue to poke DGS work gently to persuade DGS to try to address some of your concerns. I do have access to the back end of DGS, so I do sort of act like a MOCR in the sense that I like to follow up and try to get answers, even though I might not get the answer you want. So feel free to reach out to me directly and I'll try to get some stuff resolved.
Thank you. Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. I would add on to what Commissioner Yates was saying that we did do a walkthrough with various folks several years ago and noted a number of these issues then as well. But my question relates to summer camps, which seem to fill up extremely quickly. I know parents that are already clicking online right when it goes live. And I'm wondering if you have plans to expand slots at all, and whether there's any equity component built into your structure to accommodate people with more need.
Well, we do offer a reduced rate as to address the equity. And in terms of offering slots, we are trying to build and put out and offer as many slots as we can for safety. I think we're expanding the number of slots that we offered from last year. So we do appreciate it. We are always trying to make sure that there's access. If you have folks who are interested in applying for the reduced rate, I encourage them to apply now, which is one of the reasons that we've been coming to the ANCs to help you guys get the word out. And I know that the registration, I've heard, this is my first summer with DPR, I've heard that the summer registration project the process is a little bit exciting. It's almost as challenging as getting Lady Gaga ticket, but we certainly want to try to make it as easy as possible. So I hope that answers your question. Sort of, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Jocelyn Johnson. From there, we'll move to Commissioner Huff and then Bromagen.
Okay, I just wanted to go back to the question I had asked earlier to Mr. Mitchell to see about the process of cleanliness and all of that as you open up and roll out your new program, as far as the facilities, people using them, and how's it going to work every day, or going from one, family or event to the next event? How is the cleanliness situation going to be handled?
Well, Commissioner, our rec centers have actually been open pretty much since last year, and we have a routine, regular process of cleaning and maintaining and sanitizing the centers throughout the day. So we're not going to do anything unique or different than we already have to try to maintain public safety, the public cleanliness, pleasantness of our centers. So I hope that answers your question.
So it's going to be, it's okay. It's because you never stop, so it's going to be okay. Because before COVID, it wasn't too cool. I haven't been to all of them, but I've been to a few, and it wasn't too cool. But that was before COVID.
Right. Well, we work with Department of General Services to maintain our facilities, and we try to maintain cleanliness the best we can. And if you see anything awry in a center, if there's something that you particularly are concerned about, please talk to the rec center manager, or feel free to reach out to me, and I can also try to address it through channels as well. I'm here to help.
Okay, Commissioner Huff.
Hello, good to see you and happy that you're at DPR. When you guys started talking about Tacoma, it made me kind of go back. I am an alumni of Coolidge, and I sit on their board, and that dog park is really, really, really dark. I'm not in that area enough to see it most recently, but not good, right? And I think someone told me there were some robberies up there. So that, in terms of safety in that area, the frequency of its travel, when they said Tacoma, that was the first thing that popped out to me, how dark it is. But again, I'm glad you are with DPR. Brenda Parks and I are going to chair the Recreation Committee, and so those will be the 4 sites. I know when Riggs was Sal at one time, it was the rat burrows and things like that. And so we want to move forward to ensure the safety. We have the new playground. Unfortunately, both of the container bins are there. One was supposed to be moved, but we'll gather some things with you and talk about our sites. And so glad to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you, Commissioner. In fact, I'm coming to see you guys, I think, on Monday at Lamond Civic Association. So it's always good to see you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to ask a question about Lamond Rec. One sort of issue we've had is that we know there are interest from kids in our neighborhood to play basketball outside. Lamond has an indoor court, which got used a lot before the pandemic. What would it take to get not necessarily a full court, maybe a full court, or just a hoop installed somewhere outside? What's the process? How could we move that idea along?
Well, one of the best ways to do it is send us an email and say, hey, would you consider doing this? And then we get it on our radar. No, I know. I jokingly say that. I don't mean to take that lightly, but we do have like an $80 million capital, I think an $80 million capital budget. And we have to make decisions all across the city. So if you present that idea, we will see if we can put it into the work plan.
Awesome. I will follow up with an email to you about that. And thank you for your consideration, because there's no way to prove the need when you don't have it until it gets installed. But I think it would be really beneficial.
So we welcome good ideas. We welcome ideas, even good ones. I mean, I'm kidding when I say that. Listen,
thank you very much.
I might not have the answer for you, but I'm certainly going to try to get an answer for you. And again, I was a commissioner, so I appreciate the work and the role you guys have and the great ideas you have. Also, take a look at our ready to play stuff, because a lot of that is going to deal with equity and have some sort of idea, roadmap of how we make capital improvements. So.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your taking the time to come out to speak with us this evening and look forward to seeing you again soon. I don't see any other questions. If they are, can you hang around and maybe answer them in the chat if something pops up for a few minutes?
I do see a few questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get to them.
So is there a process for residents in the recreation center to receive priority approval for participating in programs? No, we are first come, first serve. I don't think we've ever considered how to give priority to neighbors, but we are first come, first serve in our signups. Aren't parks, dog parks closed at dusk? They should be. Actually, I need to confirm that answer, but we do have rec center. We do have park rangers who go throughout and open the doors in the morning and then lock gates around night. And I'd have to get an answer out to you about that. And what is the general process to add or create new programs to our rec center? Ms. Cockrell, why don't you give me a call or an email afterwards, and I can also reach out to you. But if you find a group who wants to partner with us, we do have partnerships. You can also reach out to our program staff as we create programs. That is the general process to create programs for our centers. But please reach out to me and I'd be happy to talk with you offline.
All right.
Chair Brooks, there's one more that I think was up above where Mr.
Okay.
Dyer started, so I'm going to read it out loud. Can we think about programming for kids in the 10 to 16 age range, upper end of the DPR camps through early summer youth employment program ages?
So we are looking at programming we do have programs for 13 to 16-year-olds. We also have special events called, one of the big special events we are going to be doing in the summer is called the, I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on it right now. Late night hype event. We do try to figure out how to program for all ages. So we can also always think about trying to find out more programming. That was a good answer. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Thanks for all that help. Managing the chat, the hands raised, and everything else can be challenging sometimes. So thank you for that. Okay, before we move on to the next presentation, I want to double back to a question that Ms. Griffin had. Mr. Mitchell, are you available to answer this question? I thought I answered it, but I guess I didn't do so to her satisfaction. The question surrounding
I'm here.
The Stay DC offices being open throughout the pandemic. I know they were open. I know we did pop-up locations throughout the city. So could you respond to that, and as well as whether or not all city services will be open in person now that the mask mandate has been lifted? I didn't know that there weren't any that were open at this time. So before I say the wrong thing, if you could address that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm not sure who that is, but I did text that number to let them know that I was following up, but I'm happy to follow up here. So Stay DC, we're no longer accepting applications for Stay DC, but ERAP, Emergency Rental Assistance Program, is still available for folks to use. And I know a number of other providers for other services like utilities are having emergency assistance programs available for their specific utility companies as well. In terms of city services being open in person, I'm trying to think of what specific you may be talking about, because as you already know, DC government is back open, and we have employees coming in to work. So if it's something like DMV, then yes, we're in person. I suppose we can have a more in-depth conversation if you have specific follow-up questions. But yes, DC's city services are still open, and majority of them are in person, if not all of them.
All right, thank you so much. So we're going to move on to the next presentation, which would be Amanda Zander from the Rock Creek Green Infrastructure Project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with our presentation.
It is. We have a 10-minute presentation and a 5-minute discussion. The floor is yours.
Great. Just trying to make sure I can share. Right, hopefully you all see the presentation now.
We do.
Great, wonderful. Well, good evening. Thank you for having us My name is Amanda Zander. I am the Public Outreach Coordinator for DC Water's Clean Rivers Project. So I'm here tonight to talk to you about our Rock Creek Project B Green Infrastructure Project. We were here presenting to you last April, and we were talking then, we were in the planning and design phases. We're really excited to be back tonight to talk to you about upcoming construction. We're getting this project started in March. And just a little bit as a reminder, this project is part of DC Water's Clean Rivers Project, which is constructing green infrastructure and tunnels in order to meet federally mandated requirements to reduce combined sewer overflow to the district's waterways. So that includes Anacostia River, Potomac River, and Rock Creek. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to my colleague, Eric Leonhard, who's one of the engineers on this project, and he'll talk about some of the details.
Thank you, Amanda, and appreciate allowing us to come back. If you want to go to the next slide, Amanda. Great. So this project that we presented to you back in April is our second project in the Rock Creek watershed. We are mandated to manage 22 impervious acres in this watershed. So we have split the watershed into 6 distinct areas. And as Amanda stated, we were beginning in area 1 and in area 2 on this map starting in March. But specifically in your ANC, next slide, please. The Tacoma area, we will be starting with the 2 bioretentions in the northern area, sorry, my cat decided to join me, northern part of this area beginning in March. Around March 10th, there'll be notifications being put out. In addition to the 2 bioretentions, we do have 5 permeable alley segments in this area of Tacoma. Like I stated, next slide, we will be doing permeable alleyways, which is where the water will infiltrate through the permeable surface of the alley through bricks and be stored underground before slowly being released back into the combined sewer system. We're also going to be installing 2 bioretentions in this area. Next slide. These have a green expression. And will be in the planter strip between the sidewalk and the curb line. They are designed to allow cars to have a step out zone. So if you have, depending on the side of the street and parking, when your car door opens, you won't be able to open it fully, but you'll have a step out zone. We did try to place these bioretentions closest to the stop signs where cars aren't allowed to park already. But I think in this area, we were able to place it between an alley entrance and the end of the block. These will be 2 in parallel. Next slide. Once construction starts, we are going to have a 24-hour hotline. Work hours are between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Weekend hours may be considered, but would need DC Water approval. And obviously we would let the residents know if that would occur, as well as the ANC. There is no anticipation for a water shutdown or a sewer shutdown unless we come across a lead service lateral. Then our lead service program at DC Water will come into play, and we would replace that lead service lateral. And that only happens when we see bioretentions. In alleyways, we do not have any of our water mains through the alleys. The sites will be secured at the end of each day for safe passage by residents. For alleyways, the alleys would be closed to vehicular traffic through the duration of the construction. We will be providing vibration and noise monitoring to ensure both worker safety as well as residents. And we will also be providing pest control, specifically in the alleyways, to ensure that as construction happens, we don't have any rats or rodents finding a new home. We'll always be providing access for deliveries, EMT, emergency services at all times. If you have trash recycling in your alleyway and we're working on your alleyway, we will be working with DPW to have the trash picked up from the front of the house. We are asking residents then to move their trash at the front of the house. If they need assistance, to call that hotline or let the foreman of the job know, and we will provide assistance in getting trash located to the front of the house for your residents. And with any project at DC Water, we also make sure that the trees that are surrounding the area, the construction area, are protected. Our trees are a valuable benefit to our residents and to our green infrastructure program, so we'll have tree protection. The two photos here are the two types of vests you will see our workers working and wearing. Fort Myer is the construction contractor on this job, so their vest will have their logo on the back, and then DC Water Clean Rivers program will always be out there with a DC Water Clean Rivers project vest on. So your residents can always stop us and ask us questions as we proceed through construction. So what happens after construction? Next slide, please. After construction, DC Water is mandated to maintain these facilities on a monthly basis. So the alleys will be swept on a monthly basis from March through December. There's no guarantee January, February won't have snow. So March through December, street sweepers. And then the bioretentions will be maintained. The vegetation would be trimmed back in the fall, spring cleanup, trash picked out every month, but also making sure that both the facilities, bioretentions and the permeable pavements are operational, so they are ready for that next storm event, helping us to protect our riverways. Next slide. I'm going to turn it back to Amanda to talk about our downspout program in this area before taking questions.
Yeah, so just really quickly wanted to let everyone know that we have a free program that's provided to residents in your area. It's our downspout disconnection program, where residents whose downspouts meet criteria for disconnection can have that completed by our team, and as well as getting a free rain barrel. So if you're interested in that program, you can get more information at the website www.dcwater.com/draintherain. As Eric mentioned, we will be providing notifications to residents ahead of construction. So if you're going to have construction in your alley or in front of your home, you will receive information on that prior to construction starting. And you can always reach out to us. We have a 24/7 project hotline, project email address, and our website. Thank you.
So before I take questions, I'll ask my question first. I hate to do this to you, but I happened to be on a community walk just yesterday, and we were complaining during that walk about the maintenance of the bioretention area along First and Kennedy Northwest. They are not cleaned regularly, and what they do is just, catch all. They're a catch-all for garbage, for trash that either blows out of a litter can or is dropped by someone walking down the street. And so it's my request that we ensure that they're actually being cleaned on a monthly basis, like you mentioned in the presentation.
Absolutely. Now I'll take that back to our maintenance crews. That was First and Kennedy Street that you stated.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Are there any other questions from commissioners? If you could raise your hand, use the raise your hand function, I'd appreciate it.
So Amanda, can you switch back 2 slides for me?
Yeah, 1 second. Let's see. There we go.
Great. So are there any questions? I see a few in the chat that I can answer.
Yeah, why don't we start with the chat and then we'll go to, no, actually, I'm sorry. I see a commissioner has her hand raised. So Commissioner Tiffany Johnson. Tiffany, are you on mute?
God, I forget that. You raised, Allison, part of my question. The other part is, why is, how do I phrase this? We need more in Manor Park. I don't see where we're getting the assistance that we need. because all of my constituents are telling me over and over and over that their basements are flooded.
Sure. So Manor Park area was part of our Rock Creek Park Project A area. So I know that DC Water was there a few years ago with that project. This is not a flood project, nor is it to help residents with water infiltration in their basement. The way that DC Water picks their sites is about the contributing drainage area and being able to capture as much of that storm water before it goes into our storm sewer pipes and then ends up into our rivers as combined sewage. So we need to pick areas for bioretentions and alleyways where we can get the capture ratio that we're looking for, that are the area that the rain falls on is great enough, and that the alley has no conflicts, or the bioretentions don't have any conflicts with utilities, that we've got good soils underneath for those sites to become beneficial to us. In fact, there were 2 or 3 alleys in this area that we needed to take off of our project. So when we were here back in April, we had other alleys that were in our project, and residents fought DC Water, said, please don't come to our alley. We don't want you storing water underground. We have water in our basements already. We're scared that it's just going to cause more water in our basements. So we actually pulled a few of our facilities specifically in this area based on feedback from the residents. Hopefully that helped clear some of the questions for you, Commissioner.
No, it doesn't, because we have significant flooding in this area. If you could reach out to me.
Sure, I can have someone from DC Water reach out to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we might, we can definitely reach out to you, and then as well, probably provide some contacts at DDOT, as this might be more of something that they would typically handle, and not DC Water.
Well, we reached out to DDOT and they have been unresponsive, so, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move to the questions in the chat. I don't think any other commissioners have questions, or at least I don't see any hands raised.
Chair Brooks, would you like me to read them?
Yes, please. I think some of them have already been answered.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which ones are the best ones. Is this complementary to the River Smart activities? Are you working in tandem with them?
So in terms of our downspout disconnection during the rain project, it's a separate project from River Smart. However, River Smart is district-wide, and they have quite a few different types of green infrastructure projects that can be done on private property, things like green roofs and permeable driveways. So we always, as part of our program, refer residents that are interested in doing more on their property that we can provide. We refer them over to River Smart.
Have you looked at the flooding area in the 6500 block of 3rd Street Northwest? It's always flooding during rain and when the snow melts.
So because this is not a flooding project for DC Water, again, we are capturing the storm event at a 1.2-inch storm over a 24-hour period. So when you think about 1.2 inches falling on a 24-hour period, these are your smaller storms, your medium-sized storms. The storms that bring in flooding, green infrastructure typically doesn't help with those activities because we have so much water coming down, and those are taken care of by DDOT and other organizations. Again, this is a consent order-based program, so the facilities that we are and locations we're selecting are what's best for ensuring that we meet our consent order and being able to capture the water before it goes into the combined sewer system.
No more questions in the chat, Chair Brooks.
Well, there was one that we missed, And that's why I
Go
went
ahead.
back to this page. So who do you call if there's, between maintenance? So at the top of this slide are tags that each of our facilities will have. It will say either bioretention or permeable pavement facility, and it will have a specific ID number to it. And there's a phone number directly on that placard that will be on each of the bioretentions and each of the alleys. If the facility needs maintenance between our monthly maintenance, you can always call that number and refer to either the number that's on that tag, it's a unique identifier, or just say, hey, my alley is off of, Quack and Booze, or, 6th Street between these two streets. And our crews will probably know which facility it is, but it's always best to look for this sign with that unique identifier.
Thank you. Okay, well, seeing no more questions, I thank you for coming. I appreciate the presentation and hope you have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Commissioner
you for
Parks.
having us.
You're welcome. So second to last presentation of the evening, Ariana Gard, PhD, Director of Growth and Resilience across Development Lab, Gard. Ariana. or Dr.
Hi.
Gard?
Hi, folks.
How are you?
Should I kick off the DC water guy?
No, we will let him do that himself.
I'm joking.
Stop sharing your screen, please, Amanda. I think your screen is still shared. There you go.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I know it's Monday at 8:45. My name is Ariana Gard. I'm a developmental psychologist. I am a Ward 4 resident in Northeast DC. I just started at the University of Maryland during the pandemic in 2020. And when I arrived, I was really lucky to get a big grant from the University of Maryland and decided, you know what, let's actually work in DC. There's not a lot of labs that really funnel money into DC, which is odd because we're only 15 minutes away. So Taylor is my project coordinator. She's here. Taylor, you want to raise your hand and wave or say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for having us tonight.
Yeah, so I am gonna share, can I share my screen? I only have a few slides. It's not gonna take that long.
Yeah, Angie, can you give her permission to share her screen, please?
Cool. All right. So I am the director of the Gard Lab. I am Ariana Gard, and we're at University of Maryland. Who are we is always very important, so you can see all of our faces. Taylor is here tonight. She is a project coordinator, but I have 3 amazing, lovely graduate students who are in clinical psychology, developmental psychology, and neuroscience. And then this project that I'm going to show you guys today is a brainchild of a few different faculty members. So we're sociologists, public health epidemiologists, and I'm a developmental psychologist. And so together we are creating the CARE study. And this is really intended to be a community-driven study of how neighborhood environments shape teen and family health and well-being. So we know that science is usually pretty scientist-driven. The scientists come up with the research questions and we just kind of expect people to participate. That is not really working in general. And it's also not going to produce the best and most just outcome. And so we have several guiding principles that we're using in this project. We want to start with community needs and research interests. That's why I'm here today. Every single piece of data will go back to community leaders and residents. We're trying to form a stable and long-term presence, so we're not trying to come in and go out. And we're also really interested in hiring teens from our neighborhoods to as paid research assistants to get STEM training, get some job training, make some money. And so from the ANC perspective, I think that what this will hopefully bring you is data about your specific neighborhood. So Mayor Muriel Bowser puts out information on, for example, rates of health challenges by ward, but wards are so big, right? And you can think about your own neighborhood is really different maybe than the larger ward. And even within your neighborhood, you can think of there are some blocks that may need more services than others. But there's really not a lot of data at that level of specificity. And so the CARE study is really designed to do that. So we are first recruiting folks, and we're starting in wards 4 and 5. This is really just because I live here and it's closest to UMD. We're recruiting folks to share their experiences, and the results of these interviews, which are paid 1-hour interviews, will be used to develop a survey and environmental assessment that we'll do later in the summer and fall. So again, some examples are maybe folks really want to know rates of depression or mental health challenges among their kids at the neighborhood level. That's something that we can estimate and give back again to community leaders and residents. But in order to figure out what those measures are, what we should be collecting data on, we really need folks to tell us, and we want to get that input. So we're doing these 1-hour interviews. You get $40 in cash and some UMD swag. They can be virtual. We can come and sit on a park bench. It's starting to get to be nicer outside. We can have folks come to UMD, give UMD tours, but it's really flexible. We can offer the interviews in English and Amharic because we know there's a large Ethiopian population in Ward 4. The survey and later phases of the study will also be available in Spanish. So English, Amharic, and Spanish. Now, the kinds of questions that we ask are super open-ended. It's what do people like about their neighborhood? What do they want to see changed? How do we think about what it means for teens to be healthy and happy? Maybe the things that scientists think mean healthy is not the same things that parents are worried about. And that's what we want to focus on. And so again, we're recruiting caregivers. So this can be grandma and grandpa, it can be aunties, any caregiver, teenagers, and community leaders. So ANC reps, teachers, faith leaders. We've talked to about 20 folks so far. We've talked to some ANC reps, and those have also been just incredible. We've gotten such great input, but we will also want to make sure we have some representation from all of the ANCs in these target neighborhoods. And so that's really all I have, and I can stop sharing, but this is a project that is supported by multiple centers at the University of Maryland. So the Population Research Center, the Data Science Center, and the College of Behavioral and Social Sciences. And again, all of this data will go back to folks and can be validated, signed by survey methodologists to be used for policy or whatever. So I have our email and phone here. I'm going to ask Taylor to drop our digits and info in the chat, and I can answer any and all questions. I'm also happy to take people to coffee and just chat. It doesn't have to be formal. And so with that, I guess, yeah, any questions or comments or reactions?
Guess it would help if I unmute myself. Commissioners, do you have any questions? I don't see any hands raised at this moment.
I'd just like to comment that I think this is a great project specifically for teens, because I hear from some of the parents or caretakers about body imaging, when you're going to a teen and people are they're having an issue with either they're too tall or whatever. So I think this will be a good conversation to have with you about some of the residents that I've talked to that are experiencing this with their teens that are in high school. And so some of these things, behaviors can lead to depression, to isolation, to, outwardly, having disruptions with fighting, etc. So if a teen would have a chance to talk about it, take a look at it, get some help, I think that this would help heal the community. So I, for one, am looking forward to talking to you, and I have taken your information. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. We are probably some of the funnest ones have been with the teens because they got lots of ideas, I'll tell you that. And they don't always agree with parents, but there's more similarities than you would think. And that's really beautiful and nice. Lots of similarities, but thank you so much, Commissioner. Really appreciate it.
Yep, I'm looking forward to talking to you as well. I happen to fall in that demographic with a teenage preteen child. God bless us all. So,
That's the same thing I was thinking, Allison, because I was like, I got a teen.
Yeah, I think this sounds great. And, anything that we can do to be supportive, I think we would appreciate doing that.
Yeah. Could I just address a comment in the chat?
Sure.
Ms. Treadway, why we're not conducting interviews in Spanish? Absolutely. I mean, there's ultimately, we sort of had to decide whether we were going to hire an Amharic speaking research assistant or a Spanish speaking at this stage. And we have a Spanish speaking research assistant who's starting in the summer. So we're really excited to welcome her onto the team and offer all of the materials in Spanish. So absolutely, it's a limitation. I fully understand that, but we hope to fix that as we move forward. And Taylor, yeah, if you can drop our brochure and our stuff, that would be great. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you. Were there any other questions in the chat, or did you get them all? Let's see. I see one new one. Can we get a brochure or something that we can email people who are interested? I can take that one. If you receive the agenda for this meeting, there is a link to Dr. Gard's website, and you can download information there. Is that the best way for them to get the information?
Yep, or send us there's our email is above, or on our website is also the flyer as well.
Okay.
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Alrighty, bye-bye. So our last presentation of the evening would be the Ward 4 Redistricting Task Force status update, 5-minute presentation, 5-minute discussion. And I believe that presentation is being provided by Tish Cockrell. Is that correct, Tish? Tisha.
Hello, Carol will actually start and then I'll follow behind her.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Commissioner, can I share my screen?
You can. We'll get you permission in a second.
Thank you.
Angie, can you give her permission, please?
Where is it? Okay. We have a very short period of time for us to go through a bunch of slides. So most of the slides, I've already put a bunch in the chat. The whole slide deck is in the chat, and we will drop it again at the end of this presentation. We're encouraging everyone to read it. We will never get through all of this in 5 minutes. I'm Carol Joyner, and I'm joined today with Tisha Cockrell, who's 4B09, and Julia Hallow Barrows, 4C. I'm 4B01, and we're all members of the Ward 4 Redistricting Task Force. What you'll see here is, I'm gonna zip straight through here because y'all can go in and read this, that these meetings are.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Carol, but I just see a white screen. Is there actually something else?
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay. You don't see the slides. Let me share my screen again.
I just see like a whiteboard kind of.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the share and try again. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, and so, you know, the slides are all in there. I'm hoping that you all read them. We think it's really important at this juncture of the task force to get this information out. The only thing I would say about this is that we are trying to get information out to the community. We're hoping you'll help us do that. And we have multiple ways. We've had task force meetings. We've had 2 hearings, all online. And we also are going to be posting the maps that we come up with, the draft discussion maps, in a number of places around the Ward 4B. Essentially redistricting, as you all know, we had a deciduous census last year, and it resulted in much larger numbers of residents in Ward 4, and so we need to really rebalance. We're presenting this to the ward, to 4B, in an effort to let you know what's about to happen with the maps. All of the materials are here. I'm going to zip through in the interest of time. How do I do that though? It's not moving. Okay. Let me get rid of this thing so people can see it. Okay, good. So, you know, the goal is to get every SMD down below 2,000, which is the average. So we're thinking 1,900 to 2,100 SMD residents in a single SMD. That's what we should be having. We realize now that as a result of growth over the last 10 years, almost every single member district in 4B is over 2,100. And so this is the most, I think, important part of the slide. And we're going to show very quickly some maps and what we're thinking of with regard to the maps. You can see on this slide that there's about 18% overage in the district, in the ANC compared to 2010. And you can see the specific numbers in each single member district. The total in terms of residents is 3,338. The goal is to make sure that we can reduce the number of single member districts so they comply with the 1,900 to 2,100 number of residents per SMD. And we need to figure out how to do that while honoring some of the guidelines that you'll hear about in a moment. So we do have some clear guiding principles for how this is supposed to happen. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Tish right now, Tisha, to talk about that. Tisha? Are we out of time?
Yes, I apologize, couldn't unmute myself. I was talking. So thank you, Carol. And hello, ANC community. So I'd like to reiterate, if Carol did not mention, that for ANCs, please share and review these maps and share them with your constituents. Our public meeting will be March 8th. You are able to submit your written testimony. In regards here, just like Carol said, we can't go through all of the information here in the slides, but that first slide, current and former ANC commissioners are encouraged to testify and provide your insights and redistricting, regarding redistricting by means available to the public. I would encourage you to read the rest of the bullets here in the interest of time to know how your input will be valuable. Next slide, please. So what factors are taken into consideration when drawing these new maps? The council will take into account a wide range of factors when considering the new ANC lines. Again, be sure to testify, show up on March 8th, speak to your constituents. They'll be looking at population levels such as age, race, voter turnout, income, education, geographical continuity, and the like. Next slide. Oh, and there's information to submit the testimony there on that slide that we just, yeah, there it is in the chat. Thank you, Julia. So slides 1 and 2, these slides were, I guess, created, these maps by the task force. There were several individuals split up into teams. I think I'll be speaking to slide 3.
Julia, do you want to just cover the slide very quickly?
I think the important piece, yes, that we have had a lot of discussion about specifically as it relates to 4B is the importance of the boundary of Georgia Avenue dividing east and west, and the importance of Missouri dividing north and south. We have gotten feedback on that from a few community members and would love more. I have dropped in the chat the redistricting website. There's a lot of other feedback we've had to take into account, a lot of other issues, but I think it would be helpful for folks to look at the maps and give us feedback by email, by phone, and I'll drop the phone number in the chat too, where you can leave some voicemail messages. But these 4 maps, we're only going to show one, but there are 4 maps, and we are going to try to make them all work, incorporating feedback that we've gotten from the community.
So is the reason that you're only showing one because this is your preferred map, or
no?
Why did you choose to show this one and not another one?
There are 3 more coming. We're just zipping through them.
Okay.
So this is the second map, and many of them look alike. But you'll see some of the bullets on the side. Basically, if I can move this thing out the way, some of the bullets on the side essentially give you the essence of this map. These maps are also easier to see if you can go into S3. If you go onto the email for the redistricting, Ward 4 redistricting, you'll be able to probably dig more deeply into the map, open them up, and actually see what these proposals really look like. And we apologize because it's hard to see, in this instance. This is a version like the first map that has the Missouri Avenue line going straight across. I'm letting Darlene in the waiting room, sorry. The Missouri line going straight across and below 4B05. So that, which is different from how it is right now. I'm gonna go to the third map, which is the one that where we spent the most amount of time trying to manage 4B. And I'm gonna let
Can you just slow down for a second for me? I understand that we gave you a time constraint, but you're also going so fast that residents can't understand, including me. So I guess what I'm want to ask is why you have 4D09 in the middle of 4B. That seems to make no sense whatsoever right now, to me anyway. And maybe that's just because it's going so quickly.
Yeah. This is one.
So you have to be, if you're in the way that I'm reading this map, if you're in 4B06, you got to go through 4D09 to get to 4B08.
I know. So that's something that you might want to, or some other person on this who's listening might want to offer some testimony about. It doesn't have to be a long statement. It could just be an email, a quick email, or something that you send in to the council member's office on the redistricting email. So this is one of 4 examples, and I'll slow down enough to say, I'm sorry if I'm speeding through, I was panicked.
I know we gave you a time constraint, so and you were trying to be respectful of that. I appreciate that.
But I will say this, that these really are the first sort of draft of public maps. They are for discussion only. And if I didn't have all this stuff up here, you'd probably be able to see where it says for discussion only, right? And so all 4 of them we'll listen to your comments, we'll take your recommendations, we'll consider them along with all the others that have submitted for all of the ANCs in Ward 4. And we'll take all of that into consideration. And this is not the final stop. Even after this goes to the councilwoman, it then will go to city council, and there'll be hearings at the council level approving these maps. So there'll be a couple of other times for folks to weigh in. This is the first, literally we finished these maps about 2 days ago and have just had a chance to wrap our heads around them.
And one thing that I might say, Commissioner Brooks, to answer your question, one of the other pieces, because I was speeding through my thing too, one of the pieces of information that we were grappling with as a work group was feedback that in some areas, in some ANCs, there were too many SMDs. And so I think this was a response to try to reduce or even out the number of SMDs. It might be a failed response. We completely could recognize that, but I think it was one of those attempts too. So along with like the Georgia Avenue issue and the Missouri issue, we got a lot of feedback that, oh, in my ANC, there's too many SMDs. So that was an attempt to balance that out.
I'm gonna go to the next map if it's okay, the third map, and let Tisha talk about that one.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Carol. I will say to the ANCs again, please, I reiterate, review these maps, share these maps with your constituency. So map 3, can we get to the map, please? Or,
yep.
Thank you. So if you pay attention under discussion only, proposed map 3, we're proposing, these proposed maps came from the working groups that were working together. And so the 4B dips a bit below Missouri Avenue on this proposed map. This is probably the only map that keeps Missouri Avenue somewhat intact in regards to 4B. The current ANC 4B05 dips below Missouri Avenue and stays the same. I would ask ANC 4B to pay attention to how many SMDs are being proposed in this particular map as well, which are 11. Again, please look at that, pay attention to if it splits anything, communities, schools, parks, you know, just really give this all of these proposed maps a thorough overview and give us your insight and your thoughts and ideas. Anything else I need to say here? Any questions in regards to what I said?
Tisha, the only thing I would add is the most difficult parts about 4B in terms of our expansion was trying to balance like up here by Tacoma, where there's been a lot of development in apartment buildings and things like that near the Tacoma Metro. So we added a single member district up there. And then also down here, you know, near Missouri Avenue, near the edge of it, where we needed to also balance for some growth that had happened in the in 4B. I'm going to go to the next slide, I think. Okay. This is just really asking you, and you'll see this in the slides when you open them yourself. There are some good, not good ways, but there are some really helpful ways that ANCs can do resolutions to the task force. And this lists all the ways in which things, helpful topics for us to address. The other side really is addressing things that we wish you wouldn't avoid, because this is a apolitical process. We're hoping that people don't come with, you know, a personal agenda or worries about, you know, commissioners and key, you know, areas, and, you know, just that we keep it really kind of focused on the streets, continuity of the community, and those sort of issues that we talked about at the beginning. And we'll have these maps out for a couple of maybe a week or two now. Tuesday, March 8th, a week from tomorrow, there will be a hearing where we'll be discussing the maps again. They may change slightly based upon your recommendations, what we hear from people, and input that we get from the broader community. So you see Tuesday, March 8th, there's an opportunity for a hearing. We need your input desperately. We also have flyers we've been trying to put up in the area. If you need flyers, just, you know, you can email us, you can email Tisha, and she can get you some flyers. But we desperately need citizens of our ward to weigh in about these proposed changes. And that's all I have.
And Carol, there are questions in the chat. Are we?
Okay.
Before we move to the chat, we'll manage the chat, but we need to find out if there are questions from commissioners first.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioners, I don't see hands raised. I'm assuming that means there are no questions from commissioners. Okay, Commissioner Yates,
sorry.
you want to take?
Really quickly, Commissioner Brooks, I'm just curious, could you repeat again, when is the redistricting actually happening? When are the decisions being made? Excuse me.
I think the decisions have to be made by June by the city council. And so we're doing this work in preparation for that. The final decision, I think, will be made in June.
And we do have a report going to the council with recommendations that we've gathered from the hearings, from the feedback that goes at the end of March, I believe.
Thank you.
And just one more, just to add to that, when they do go, I think it's just going to be one map. It's not going to be these options. These are options for discussion. The goal is to get all of the input that makes sense that we can, use in order to, address the absorption of all these new residents in the ward, and then, compile that into one map.
So my feedback would be that you're asking us for input on multiple maps, not knowing which map is the map that you're recommending. And I don't know how a commission, if we're going to weigh in, could weigh in, not knowing what the recommendation is.
That's true. I think that what we're hoping is that people don't make a recommendation on a single map, but they look at some of the issues in each of the maps that are important to 4B. And so one of the issues that we've grappled with is, what about Georgia Avenue? Should Georgia Avenue remain sort of a major divider between 4A and 4B, right? And, all the way down, actually, to the bottom of Ward 4. Should Missouri Avenue, move essentially and become below 4B05? That's a critical issue. The Walter Reed build out has been a complicated issue because technically we are not supposed to base any of our decisions on people who aren't there yet, right? It's supposed to be based on the actual census, who is living there at the time of the census. However, we know there's going to be tremendous growth there. So, so we have to kind of, we have been talking about it, but we also know the limitations of that conversation. There are issues around, as Julia said, when you have growth, having more single member districts, having more commissioners, creating a bigger workload for everybody, right? What does that mean? Is it better to have more, or is it, or fewer people doing a lot of work? And only y'all would know that since you've been doing this work. So I think it's not really about selecting a map. It's about looking at the maps, and we could meet again. We could open this up in ESRI. I think it's, this is such an important issue that I do think that it does require time. But I implore you to at least take the first step in looking at them as they are, maybe meeting amongst yourselves about them, thinking about critical issues that you're seeing in these maps.
What's the mission of the task force?
The mission of the task force is to rebalance the single member districts in the ward in relationship to the last census.
Right. So then ultimately you're going to put forward one map.
One map.
Right. So we need to see one map. We need to see one map. We can't weigh in on 4 maps. That's not.
When you will, I guess
that's unacceptable. I suppose you could ask us to do whatever you want, but as a commissioner, I'm saying to you that request is a bit unreasonable. To provide us with 4 maps that don't provide us with a clear indication of what your recommendation is going to be, and then allow us to weigh in on a recommendation is unacceptable to me. And that'll be my comment. Quite honestly, I comment, that would be my comment.
If I could interject for a moment. So the groups were split into corridors, Northeast, Southwest, and I will just say, as a personal resident of ANC 4B09, map 3 was created by the Northeast corridor. In my opinion, that should have been the map presented here tonight. But you have full, ability to look at each map. But in terms of how each map was created, they were created by different corridors in team groups, if that helps
But-
your.
For example, my S&D covers multiple corridors. So how is that comprehensive?
That was, we tried to figure that out in map 3. I personally don't know if that was considered in maps 1, 2, and 4.
So obviously we've extended, we've long surpassed our deadline and it's getting late. So I think I'll take this offline, but suffice it to say, I have grave concern about all 4 maps. The fact that there are 4 maps, let me not say all 4 maps. The fact that there are 4 maps says to me, you guys have not completed your work.
Oh, it's definitely
You
not.
can't ask me, but you can't ask me to weigh in on something that's incomplete.
Okay, I mean,
It could
that's
change
fair.
tomorrow.
That's fair. What I would say is that there will be an opportunity at the council level to weigh in on a single map, but I think that until then.
If there are 4 maps, to me, that's like no maps. So we might as well, as a commission, figure out what we think is best and submit our own map, is the way I'm feeling personally. So, I mean.
I appreciate that.
What is the timeline for us getting back to you about these maps?
March 8th. So these maps are now out, but just for discussion, and they are open to change as the commissioner has stated. And by March 8th, there was going to be a hearing on, I believe, a couple of maps, probably not 4, but it'll be more than 1. And then at that point, we'll go into a phase of needing to finalize and get one single map, write a report, and submit that to the councilwoman, who will then submit it to the city council.
So we have less than a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not another opportunity to meet. So
we can't weigh in as a commission by
No.
by the
not by the 8th of the month.
I was going to mention that as a commission, you can make, I guess, suggestions just the way the task force did, but it's going to be perceived just the way the task force was, in terms of it's an idea, it's a suggestion. Eventually, a map will be chosen, if that makes sense.
It does. I think that we've belabored this point as long as possible. And I think at this point that if anyone has a question, they should reach out to the task force directly. I believe a lot of the questions, or some of the questions in the chat, have already been answered. And I do see
Jocelyn has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I'm sorry.
I was really, I feel a little frustrated because it's almost like a flip of a coin or something, you don't know. It's, at the end of the day, it's going to be somebody's call of what they like the best. We're kind of getting it now, and it's a big project to make, we don't know what we're looking at. So I'm feeling like
I'm happy to have as many conversations as we can, in the very short period of time. We are, if you have a set of questions, you can just send those in and we will quickly respond to those. And then hopefully come to the hearing on March 8th.
So is it possible?
We've been in this process, just so a little bit of history. We've been in this process since January 30th, we started. So in 1 month, we've met every single Sunday, and in meetings throughout the week and small work groups to get this far. Literally, we had to all do map training for about a week before we could even do the mapping. And so it has been a pretty big process. And I truly appreciate that you're just seeing it for the first time, and 4 maps is truly overwhelming. And so, like as Tisha said, for 4B, for our issues and what we think are the issues of this ward, that we think that for 4B, that you might want to focus on the third map. Because it is the one that the 4B sort of working group worked on the longest. And we thought it reflected more of, what, our ANC needs.
Okay.
So I
Thank
don't
you
know if
for
that's
that.
helpful.
It is.
Okay.
I
Thank
appreciate
you
that.
so much.
Okay, thank you. And again, I appreciate that you were trying to be respectful of our time limitation, and I sort of blew that out of the water. So thank you for indulging me in this
That's okay.
conversation.
Thank you.
Again, anybody else that has a question, you should direct them directly to the task force. And I think we are going to now move on to our consent calendar. Let me move my screen over here so I can face everybody. Currently on the consent calendar is a letter requesting feedback regarding the District Office of Unified Communications. I can't speak. A letter requesting the feedback from the District Office of Unified Communications 311 for city services, put forward by Commissioners Palmer, Yates, and Brooks. Resolution 4B 220201, calling on the DC Library to engage in a community process for the naming of what is currently known as the Martin Luther King Library Auditorium, Commissioner Yates. 4B 220202, calling on DCPS to allocate FY 2023 funds to build swing space in Ward 4, Commissioner Brooks. The resolution for 4B 220203, requesting completion of bike lanes on Kansas Avenue Northwest between Chillon Place Northwest and Blair Road, Commissioner Bromagen and Commissioner Tiffany Johnson. And that is it. I'm sorry. That's the complete slate. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented?
I'll move.
Thank you. And a second? Thank you. All in favor? Please raise your hand so I can see you. Thank you.
Is Commissioner Parks on? That's
She
who I
had
don't.
technical difficulties and was disconnected, so she is not here.
Okay.
Okay, so that was everyone. Next, we're going to move on to the next resolution. I just lowered my screen, which would be 4B 220205, supporting the District Office of the Attorney General's proposed text amendment governing zoning commission orders to comply with inclusionary zoning and green area ratio requirements in effect on the date of the ANC vote. That was a mouthful. Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, that is a mouthful for something that is actually relatively simple. This resolution is an outgrowth of the Office of the Attorney General's participation in a Housing Justice Committee meeting where we raised issues and something that the commission has seen, which is that if a development proposal is on the table for a long time, the Office of Zoning doesn't necessarily apply the inclusionary zoning requirements that are contemporary that exist now. So it's a small proposed text amendment that would correct for that and say that current standards for inclusionary zoning and green area ratio requirements apply even if a proposal has been sitting around for a period of time. Tiffany.
Tiffany, I need you to mute. Okay.
So that's the proposal in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, Commissioner Palmer, could you talk a little bit about how this proposal came about?
Yes, I thought I did that. Did I not do that?
Just, well, I was want to talk about the work of the Housing Justice Committee in that.
Yeah, I mentioned that it started there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have dropped out there. My apologies.
It's okay.
I only heard the back end of. Well, then I just wanted to express my appreciation for the committee members who have been working on these issues so diligently.
Is there a motion?
Yes, thank you. Sorry if that was unclear. This was a, yeah.
Somebody faded out because I couldn't hear anything for a second.
I'll move the motion.
Thank you. I'll second. All in favor? Raise your hands, please. Aaron, I didn't see your hand, Commissioner Palmer. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Tiffany Johnson, I saw you flip on. Is that a yes? All right,
Yes.
thank you. The motion passes. Okay, lastly, one resolution, even with you all indulging me on that map conversation, we're still gonna finish by 9:30-ish. That's wonderful. Our last resolution of the evening is Commissioner LaRoya Huff, a letter in support to rename the Lamont Riggs Library for Lillian J. Huff. Do you need me to share my screen or are you gonna pull it up, Commissioner Huff?
If you could share your screen.
I can. Let's see. There you go.
All right, good.
I'm trying to scroll. Hold on.
You
a
know
second.
what?
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll to the top and it won't let me. There we go.
Is this okay, got it. All right, well, thank you so much. Again, I'm LaRoya Huff, ANC Commissioner for 4BL9. Letters dated February 28th, 2022 to Mr. Richard Reyes Gavilan, the director of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library.
So I'm sorry, Commissioner Huff, before you continue reading, maybe we should just confirm, has every commissioner had the opportunity to review the letter? Is it necessary to read it? I'm seeing blank faces. I don't know what that means.
I've read it. I'm satisfied.
Is there a way Commissioner Huff could maybe try to display both screens at once so people are in the audience can see it, or at least see the second page? But I've read it. I think it's fine and well written.
So I'm the one displaying it. Let me see if I can change my view. Let's see. There we go. So why don't we do this? Instead of reading it out loud, Commissioner Huff, we will, since commissioners have read it, we'll leave this up on the screen for a second, and then I'll scroll down to the next 2 pages, and then thus giving residents the opportunity to read the resolution, and then we'll just go straight to a vote. It's the end of the evening, and
there's a comment in the chat about how it's not on the website, which is why we're sharing it on the screen now.
Right. So first of all, to be clear, there's no requirement for us to post resolutions on the website. We've been doing that because of COVID, and this resolution did not make it up over the weekend, and therefore we've made it available to you here. If you have a specific question, I'm happy to address that at this time.
Maybe could Commissioner Huff summarize the resolution also, just so folks who are listening understand what it.
Okay, thank you very much. So Lillian Huff was a resident of Riggs Park since 1961, and she's done many great works in the community, in the District of Columbia, and for our country, and worked for many noted leaders. The request came by way of residents, I want to say a little over a year ago. She was celebrated at the Michigan Riggs event that's held annually. Most recently, it was held at Riggs, Michigan, Fort Circle Park, where there was something presented on behalf of her. We recognized 2 residents from both Michigan and Riggs who had passed away. And so it began at that point that residents had asked about the library, who Ms. Huff was very instrumental in getting the first library. And so later, Rodney Foxworth, the now committee person for Ward 4, and Mr. Wiles is the Ward 5 rep. So letters have gone in on support, Sharon Pratt Kelly, a lot of noted people in the community. She was the, one of the things I wanted to note, that she was a former president of LRCA, but not only that, she was the past member of the former DC Democratic at-large member of DC Democratic State Committee, and one of the first Black women to chair the DC Democratic State Committee. She was a member of President Jimmy Carter's Alumni Club, former chair of the Finance Committee of the District of Columbia Democratic State Committee. She's had noted successes in the community, as I stated, and around. She served on the Mayor's Commission on Food, Nutrition, and Health, while serving on the commissions acquiring federal funds for the District of Columbia Public Schools to study ways to improve existing food services and find ways to expand programs to the private sector, develop the first nutrition directory in the District of Columbia, and sponsored the first crop hunger walk in the District of Columbia, which earned funds to replenish goods for emergency food banks. She established an open air market at Benton Road and Oklahoma Avenue in the northeast quadrant of the city, which still exists. She appointed by Jimmy Carter, Ms. Huff served in the capacity of Vice President of the pre-White House Conference on Libraries and Information Services. And from 1965 to 1993, Ms. Huff led the quest to attain a library in Riggs Park area. The Lamont Riggs Library officially opened in October 1983, where she served as the president of the Friends of Lamont Riggs Library. She has done a variety of noted things. There was one I wanted to talk about with the Democratic Committee women. She was one of the first founding officers. She's had noted service commitments. And as well, you know, this idea that folks had to rename the library was since looked at in conversation with the library and taking a look at co-naming the library. And it's noted there are 25 public libraries, 4 which are co-named for former residents, and 1 of which is solely named after person Francis Gregory. So we are, when I say we, residents and folks who have already submitted letters to support this are looking to have the library named or renamed or co-named for Lillian Huff.
Commissioner Huff, I know that we've talked about this in the past, but would you, for clarity's sake, explain that there is no relation, that it's a coincidence that the last names are the same?
No, there is no relation, although I must admit that I moved to Riggs Park myself in 1961, went to school at LaSalle Elementary, where I began to know Ms. Huff. My mom and dad were both in education, and as well, my father was a noted civil rights activist during that time. They're both from the South. There was no known relation, but I've known her since I can remember, as well as her family.
So based on that, is there a motion that you'd like to put forward?
Yes, ma'am. I would ask that the commission support the renaming or co-naming the library, the Lamont Riggs Library, for the late Lillian J. Huff, and ask for your support.
I second. All in favor, please raise your hands.
Aye.
Waiting on Tiffany. Tiffany, I just see a black screen. You can, thank you.
Aye.
Aye, and I believe Brenda has rejoined us. Brenda, are you in favor? Thank you. Okay, so that's everyone. That was the last agenda item on our agenda. And clearly it's after 9:30. I'm starting to fall apart. So with that being said, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting and wish everyone a lovely, lovely evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Oh my God.